A controversial casting of a teenage heartthrob, a reset of a franchise that crashed heavily after a promising beginning, a director best known for a split-story tale centered around memory loss. It's difficult to say that anyone could have predicted that a new venture into the world of Batman would be such a success. It would bring a much-lauded trilogy and create waves in the industry that are still felt nearly 2 decades later. And before we find ourselves moving any further forward, it is time for the original Batman film series that began in 1989 and dominated the film industry through 2 successful sequels, 1992's Batman Returns and 1995's Batman Forever, unfortunately found its demise in a 4th entry, 1997's Batman and Robin. Over-the-top scenes and imagery, a second recasting of Batman, a villain-heavy semi-plot that left no room for true character development, the movie was less about the story and depth that any one character would need, and more about flash and cash. Even some of the biggest names in Hollywood couldn't save a fan base that was exhausted in what their beloved Batman and Gotham had become. The failure was enough for a massive big-screen retreat from the incredible stories that lie in the pages of countless comics. A retreat that lasted almost an entire decade. Fast forward to 2005 when massive rumblings about a new Batman movie coming that summer. Was the world ready? Was it still too soon? As fans could still sense the bitter taste of cheesy one-liners and absolute injustices on Rogues Gallery favorites? The answer? No, it was not too soon. But also the world may not have been ready. With a film that is often credited to be one of the pioneers and examples of a reboot, Gotham was reset. Wayne Manor was something new. Bruce Wayne / Batman was in the hands of a master of their craft. In 2005, Batman Begins. Fans around the world embraced a new telling of the origin story. A dark Gotham, a broken, lost, brooding Bruce Wayne trained at the hands of Ra's al Ghul himself, only to part ways as the two had different ideas on how to handle the world and Gotham's concerns. And Gotham's concerns? A city gripped with literal fear induced by a chemical designed by Dr. Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow. Batman is faced with an immediate challenge in stopping Crane from destroying Gotham, only to find that the backbone of Scarecrow's operation was none other than Ra's al Ghul. Bruce must now face the true face of his enemy, risen from the dead through trickery instead of an ancient pit. Only, it turns out that one can't always truly cheat death, as Batman emerges victorious knowing he won't kill, but he doesn't always have to save others. Bit of a gray area there, Bats, but what do I know? A sequel immediately went into production with rumors of a Joker performed by Heath Ledger and a Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, by a fairly unknown Aaron Eckhart, led to yet another bout of uncertainty. Could a former teenage heartthrob really have the chops needed to handle such a heavy role as the Joker? The answer? More than yes. From the opening scene to the very end, Ledger's Joker drives every single moment and action of the story, bringing the only thing he ever desires: chaos. Devastating Gotham's largest crime organization, manipulating those sworn to protect into those willing to kill, even turning Gotham's White Knight, Harvey Dent, into the villain Two-Face with no one able to stop them but Gotham's protector, the Dark Knight. The second installment into the Dark Knight trilogy became not just one of the greatest comic book superhero movies, but one of the greatest film stories ever told. And thus, a third was born. A new threat from a masked mercenary and mastermind of a criminal underworld, Bane. Bane comes with a mission for Gotham to atone for its sins, for the corrupt to have their day of reckoning. And reckoning happens. In a loose adaptation of the No Man's Land storyline, Gotham is cut off from the outside world, with a threat of nuclear destruction thanks to a weaponized reactor core stolen by Bane and hidden in Gotham. With the police trapped underground and a Batman that was broken by Bane and left in the prison he escaped from, Gotham had no protector. I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body? Fortunately, the answer was Bruce's body. His spirit helped him recover, escape, return to Gotham, amass an army and a cat, and defeat the villainous but organized league that had overtaken his city. With a final, seemingly sacrificial effort to save Gotham, the Dark Knight rises. These 3 movies told gripping, gritty stories that always remained in a realm of realism, telling the world that this could be possible. Comic books could be reality. The influence of a dark and gritty world reverberated and became the basis of all things DCEU, for better or for worse. Nevertheless, director Christopher Nolan and 3 incredible casts gave the world 3 timeless stories and one of the most iconic characters and perhaps the most mimicked Bat voice ever. And now, thanks to the team at McFarlane Toys, fans get to add some of these iconic characters to their shelves and collections with a new wave of amazing representations. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collects, and in this episode we are taking a closer look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, The Dark Knight Trilogy, Build-A-Bane Wave. I'm Batman. Hey everyone, welcome back, and here is Batman. Let's start with the back as usual. Now we have a little bit of a different presentation than what we normally see with the individual figures, with this being part of a collection, a Build-A-Figure or a Build-A-Bane set. Over here on the left we have it looks like a promotional image from The Dark Knight Rises of Tom Hardy as Bane. To the right of that we have the Collect to Build, showing the map of all the parts of Bane and what comes in this particular package. So Batman comes with the legs. And then down here at the bottom it shows the 4 cards that are also part of this series. So obviously 1 comes with each figure. Over here on the side, as usual, we have Batman, the Dark Knight Trilogy with the that typical McFarlane font. Up there at the top, we show the Dark Knight Trilogy battering, or that style of the Batman logo. There's that sticker that we're starting to see. Now this one is actually classified as DC Gaming 7-inch, which is odd because it's actually from a movie, not so much a game. Over to the panel side, which has that DC Universe, the QR code where you can scan to get more information. Looks like you can get some imagery. And it also shows where you can download the app on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And then there we have that side view of Batman. But if we bring it around to the front, we can see the full view. And there he is, DC Multiverse, Collect to Build Bane. This is number 1 of 4. But let's show that exploded view outside of the box, showing Batman, all of his accessories that comes with it, 3 batarangs, and a grappling gun. So not a bad deal for everything that comes with this bat, because it does also have that typical DC stand, and it also has the collector card that we saw the image of on the back of the package. And there are our 2 legs for Bane. So let's bring it back into the package. And there is our whole presentation, and it looks fantastic, but this is not the way that we came to look at this figure. We came to look at it in a closer look outside of the package, so without further ado, let's bust into this one. And there he is, The Dark Knight Trilogy from McFarlane Toys, the Christian Bale Batman. What an excellent job they did with this, and I'm loving the detail on it in just looking at it from a distance. But let's take that closer look, right? So first, starting out, let's look at that head sculpt, right? I think they did a fantastic job at capturing that likeness. Granted, you didn't really have to do a whole lot of work to capture the likeness of Christian Bale in a Batman cowl. You have to make sure you get the cowl right, make the eyes look pretty decent, and make the chin area and the mouth area look right, and I think they did a good job, right? I can't say that it does not look like Christian Bale in a Batman cowl. So they did a good job with that. The sculpting on it is fantastic. Everything is very clean. The paintwork on the mouth and the face and the eyes, I think they did a good job with it. It's that typical McFarlane detail that we can expect, and I don't really see any flaws showing through, right? So sometimes there are some flaws in the head sculpt, in the figure, or something like that from the presentation, and just looking at it right off, everything's looking pretty good, right? So let's test that flexibility, right? So this one, the neck is part of the torso, so I am happy to see that a lot more frequently now, especially with these McFarlane Toys figures, because when the head was part of the neck, or both of them were separate, it just seemed like the mobility wasn't quite there. But now that they're going with this ball joint up there at the top, we definitely have a lot of great flexibility for it. So that's our side to side, our up and down. The down is definitely excellent. Look at that. He can definitely be very brooding, looking down from the rooftops and looking up, getting ready to fire his grappling gun up to a rooftop so that he can climb and fly. Definite flexibility, very good. And we can do Yes, we do have that full Exorcist rotation capability. So all in all, great performance so far with that head flexibility. Let's take a look at the arm. So we definitely do have a butterfly joint showing through right there for the shoulder. This shoulder pad is flexible. It does kind of peel away a little bit so you can see underneath it, which is also good for its flexibility, right? So it lets it move around and it's not a thick piece of plastic that's going to be preventing mobility. Now it does kind of flex and get caught on the cape right there, so you kind of have to pull it up and over, but we do have that bicep tricep rotation, and that seems to be working quite well. So very happy to see that. And then of course our double pinned elbow, so excellent flexibility on that. There we go. Let's let the focus catch up a little bit here. You know what? I'm going to switch to manual and do it myself. There we go. So there's our double pinned elbow. So excellent flexibility there. We do not have the forearm rotation as usual, but it does have the wrist rotation and that typical McFarlane wobble capability thanks to the ball joint that's in there with the two pins sticking out, as I always mention. And then the bracer here with the little claws. I don't really know what to call them, the little bat fin things on there. It's very well done. They look like they could come popping out, and you can see where they would fold down and they would collapse to be a little bit smoother. So it's a nice little detail on there, even if they don't come out. How cool would that have been? And then the other arm, of course, has that same flexibility. This one has a closed fist. This one has an open weapon holding hand, we'll say, a grip hand, because he does come with batarangs and he also comes with that grappling gun. So he needs to be able to hold it at least with one hand, even if we don't really include real weapons. And those are the weapons that Batman uses anyway. So here we go, and mid-torso, let's see what we got here. So we do have, wow, that was honestly hidden very well. They did a great job on this because it's hidden in between these plates, but it does have that full range of motion in there, and the sculpting does go up high as far as the costume. That is an excellent backward arch. Let's see how the forward does. Not bad, right? So a pretty good forward crunch. It covers that whole plate right there. And then, of course, we have waist rotation, which is masked pretty well because it has this flexible crotch piece, and it also has the belt to help mask some of that because it helps hold a form to this flexible form and keeps it kind of up against the torso pretty well and prevents some of those odd gaps that can happen in posing. So, I mean, that's a pretty good twist right there. And we don't really have a big gap in there. All right, and then that typical McFarlane joint for the upper legs. Now, he doesn't go quite full split, but that's okay. He is wearing a costume with a lot of armor plating on it, so, you know, you got to give a little bit of freedom on that, but yeah, not too bad. No upper thigh. We do have the double knee as usual. You know, same basic McFarlane flexibility and articulation points, but that flexibility is excellent, even with all of this armor plating on here that could easily get in the way. We have the integrated large joint right there for the ankle, which allows excellent forward and backward, and also has that toe articulation where he can also break the bat ankle. And that's the same thing on both sides, so the flexibility and articulation is the same for both legs, so glad to see that. And, you know, no real issues with it. And then just looking at the overall of this figure, right? So no paint issues or anything like that that really shine through, right? So a lot of it is this black costume, right? There's a little bit of black paint on top of the darker gray of some of the sculpted. And then we see some darker gray paint on there, it looks like. And then we also have the gold paint of the belt with the logo right there in the middle. I think it's all very well executed and well done, even with the pins fairly well matching, right? So they went with black pins, and that's fine because it still shows through. And there's such a lot of different color contrast throughout the costume that it still works. So all in all, they did a great job. The cape is that flexible rubber material. Around here on the back, we've got the paint that follows through on the belt. So you can see what it looked like around the back. I wonder how much information they were able to get to make sure that this is accurate to the costume and how it was created. There we go. So always, I like the flexible cape, but I do also like the third-party groups who make those custom capes. And I look forward to a good one for this one because a cape was a big deal for this costume. Well, that about brings us to the end of this dark and brooding episode. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Now, if we ever do a review of something that you are trying to find for yourself, please follow and DM us on Instagram at JKCollectsToys so we can help with the search if we don't already have a way of getting one. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments and let YouTube know by subscribing and clicking that like button. The more that happens, the more it helps the channel because YouTube will recommend us so we can hopefully reach even more people and collectors and help them find the things that they need. And if you'd like to see some more videos, we do have some links on your screen for you to check out. But above all, as always, collecting or not, we are all in this world together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.